is no disgrace. Don't be scared if you don't fit in. Look who's in the reject bin. It's the Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Dolls like you and me. Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Made him perfectly. So if you got a bump on your nose or lumps on your toes, do not despair. Be like the Raggy Dolls and say I just don't care. 'Cause Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls,
Raggy
are
Dolls.
happy just to be Raggy Dolls, Raggy Dolls, dolls like you and me.
This is John Clutterbuck in famine-ridden Mingala handing you back to the studio.
Mr. Grimes was very thoughtful.
Those poor people, he thought. It's tragic. There must be something I could do to raise money.
He thought hard, but he was too tired to have any good ideas. He yawned.
I'll sleep on it, that's what I'll do, he told himself.
He made sure old Edward, his boyhood teddy bear, and Rupert the Roo were comfortable, and went up to bed. Rupert and Edward had seen the programme too.
The world is always full of troubles,
Sighed old Edward.
Yeah, maybe so, said Rupert. But old Grimes is right. Something's got to be done.
He leapt up and started bouncing up and down the sitting room. Old Edward watched him wearily.
I don't know where you get your energy from, he said. I think better when I bounce,
said the kangaroo.
Ah, got it. I'll go and see the Raggy Dolls.
What? Said the old teddy.
At this time of night?
But Rupert was already out of the cat flap and gone. The Raggy Dolls were fast asleep when Rupert reached the reject bin. He bounced up and looked in.
Psst! Wake up!
No one stirred. He bounced up again.
Psst! Wake up!
He whispered loudly. The Raggy Dolls were still fast asleep.
Struth, muttered Rupert. They're miles away, in the land of Nod.
He bounced up even higher and called,
Oi! Come on, you lot! Show a leg!
That did it. The Raggy Dolls woke up in total confusion.
Rupert,
said Dotty crossly when everyone had calmed down.
Don't you realise it's the middle of the night?
Yeah, sorry about that, but listen.
The kangaroo explained all about the people in need he'd seen on television and how desperate they were through no fault of their own.
You're absolutely right, said Princess. But how can we help? We'll just have to put on our thinking caps, said Dotty. Let's go down to the canteen and make a pot of tea,
suggested Lucy. Everyone agreed. Over cups of tea, the Raggy Dolls had several ideas for raising money.
Maybe Mr. Grimes could make a collection in the factory, suggested Hi-Fi. Oh, yes, said Lucy. I'm sure everyone would give very generously. Said Dotty. That would raise a certain amount, but we need as many people as possible to give as much as they can. No problem, said Back to Front. All Mr. Grimes needs to do is open the factory to the public, show them how the toys are made, and charge them an entrance fee. All in a good cause. Brilliant, said Dotty. An open day in aid of people in need. It's bound to be a great success.
Everyone was very excited about the idea, except Sad Sack.
There's just one problem,
he said.
Mr. Grimes hasn't thought of the idea yet.
Sad Sack's right,
said Lucy, suddenly disappointed.
How are we going to get Mr. Grimes to do it? I've got it,
said the kangaroo in midair. He landed on the table.
We'll just have to make him think he thought of the open day all by himself,
he grinned.
How are we going to do that?
Demanded Sad Sack. Rupert winked.
Follow me,
he said. Mr. Grimes was sound asleep and snoring gently when the Raggy Dolls and Rupert crept silently into his bedroom.
Are you sure this is going to work?
Whispered Princess. Yeah, no worries, whispered Rupert. He neatly hopped up onto the bed and, taking care not to disturb Mr. Grimes, edged his way to the pillow. When he was right next to Mr. Grimes's ear, he spoke softly in a low voice. Mr. Grimes, can you hear me? Mr. Grimes grunted, but did not wake up. The Raggy Dolls held their breath. Rupert continued. Mr. Grimes, you want to help the people in need, don't you? Yes, mumbled the sleepy Mr. Grimes. Then listen carefully. The next morning, Mr. Grimes was a bundle of energy. He put the phone down just as Florrie Fosdyke came in with his morning cup of coffee.
Ah, Florrie, good morning. I've just spoken to the local paper and they've agreed to do a big article and a full-page advertisement. Completely free.
Sorry, Mr. Grimes, said Florrie, but I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about.
Mr. Grimes chuckled.
The open day, Florrie. This Saturday. I've decided to open the factory to the public in aid of people in need. Hopefully we shall raise a lot of money. What do you think?
Florrie had also seen the programme.
I think it's terrific, Mr. Grimes. What a wonderful idea. I don't know how you think them up.
Neither do I, Florrie,
said Mr. Grimes.
Neither do I.
The Raggy Dolls were delighted when they heard that their plan had worked. They sat up in the treehouse, out of the way of all the preparations. Back to Front was impressed.
I must say, old Grimesy really knows how to get things done. I've never seen a factory so busy.
When Saturday came, so did lots of people. The first thing they saw was Bert, the factory foreman, dressed as a teddy bear. He collected the entrance money and posed for photographs. Inside the factory, safety ropes were put up to stop people getting too near the machines, but they could see how the toys were made quite clearly. Mr. Grimes proudly explained that only the finest materials were used, and that if any toy did not come up to the right standard, it was put in the reject bin. One child asked to see the reject bin, but of course it was empty. The Raggy Dolls were hiding with Rupert in the canteen, where Florrie was busy selling teas and cakes and orange squash. The sight of all the visitors eating made Sadsack feel quite hungry.
I hope they leave some for us,
he whispered.
So do I, said Lucy. But Florrie's got to make as much money as she can. If she sells it all, I won't mind.
The others agreed, even Sadsack.
I suppose everyone should go hungry once in a while, he thought, just to know what it's like.
When the last visitors had gone, Mr. Grimes thanked everybody for giving up their day off and working so hard for people in need.
Bert and I have counted the money, he said, and I'm sure you'll all agree that it's all been very worthwhile when I tell you how much we've raised.
The Raggy Dolls listened impatiently.
It's quite a tidy sum, I can tell you.
Then why doesn't he? Muttered Rupert. Struth, what a windbag.
We have raised the amazing sum of just over £1,000. Well done, everybody,
concluded Mr. Grimes. The Raggy Dolls and Rupert looked at one another and smiled. There was nothing more to be said.
Raggy dolls, dolls like you and me. Raggy dolls, made imperfectly. So if you're not at ease with your knobbly knees and your fingers are all thumbs, stand on your two left feet and join our raggy doll chums. 'Cause raggy dolls are happy just to be. Raggy dolls, dolls like you and me.